Thank you for coming tonight to this special presentation. It's intended that you take the information that you learn here tonight back to your respective high schools and use it to guide any student who may be wanting to participate in NCAA Division I athletics. The majority of this presentation on the initial eligibility requirements can be found in Bylaw 14.3 regarding freshman academic requirements. Let's start by talking about what the NCAA's definition of a full qualifier is. A qualifier is a high school graduate that meets the following qualifications. They must have a minimum GPA of a 2.3 in the 16 core courses. They must also have completed 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of natural or physical science, 1 year of additional courses in English, math at algebra level or higher, natural science, or physical science, 2 years of social science, 4 years of additional academic courses in any of the above courses, or foreign language, philosophy, or non-doctrinal religion. They must be a graduate from high school and have an SAT score of 900 or an ACT score of 75. Of course, all of these courses and grades must be certified by the NCAA Eligibility Center, but we will talk about that a little bit more later. Starting with student athletes initially enrolling as a full-time student on or after August 1st of 2016, students must have a minimum core course GPA of a 2.3 in order to compete. They must complete 10 of the required 16 core courses before the senior year of their high school, and 7 of these 10 courses must include English, math, science. Additionally, 10 core courses will be used to fulfill this requirement, and the grades that are earned on those courses will be used in determining the student athlete's initial eligibility for financial aid, being able to practice, and being able to compete during their first year of academic residence. So let's go a little bit more into depth about the core curriculum and some of the requirements. In order for a course to be counted as a core course, it must meet the following criteria. It needs to be recognized as an academic course and qualify for high school graduation credit in one or a combination of the areas of math, English, science, social science, foreign language, or religion philosophy. The course must be considered college preparatory by the high school, and a college preparatory course is defined as any course that prepares a student academically to enter a four-year collegiate institution upon graduation from high school. The maths courses must be at a level of Algebra 1 or higher. Courses must be taught by a qualified instructor as defined by the appropriate authority, which is either the high school, the school district, or state agency. And courses must be taught at or above the high school's regular academic level. Courses considered remedial, special education, or compensatory courses are not considered as core courses. There are also non-traditional courses, which include courses taught over the internet, distance learning, independent study, individualized instruction, and correspondence. These courses can be used to satisfy NCAA core requirements if they meet all of the requirements for a core course, the instructor and the student have ongoing access to each other for the purposes of teaching, evaluating, and providing assistance to the student throughout the duration of the course, and the instructor and the student have regular interaction with one another. The student's work is available for validation and evaluation, such as papers, assignments, exams. The evaluation of the student's work is conducted by an appropriate academic authorities. The course includes a defined time period for completion, and it is acceptable for any student and is placed on the high school transcript. Now let's look at how grades are determined. I'm sure you're familiar with the grading system, so just a quick review. An A is worth 4 quality points, a B 3, C 2, and D 1. These grades are then converted to a 4.0 scale, and pluses and minuses have no effect on the score. Some schools grade honors and advanced courses differently, which is fine, as long as honors courses only receive a maximum of 1.0 additional quality points. This would mean that an A in an honors class is equivalent to 5 quality points, a B 4 quality points, and so on. The core curriculum GPA is then calculated using the student's 16 best grades from courses that meet the distribution requirements of the core curriculum. Here are a few additional grading-related policies. Courses that are awarded pass-fail can be used to satisfy core curriculum requirements. However, the NCAA Eligibility Center then assigns the lowest possible passing grade that the high school assigns for a pass-fail course, so it's not necessarily recommended. Students can repeat a course only once to satisfy core curriculum requirements. When they repeat the course, the best grade in the course can be used to calculate the GPA in the core curriculum. And lastly, a student athlete who attends more than one high school, a Form 48H, which is a core course form, and an official transcript from each high school must be submitted. Now we're going to move on to a little bit about test score requirements. Students must meet the minimum required SAT or ACT score before registering for a full-time program. Both the SAT and ACT are able to combine the best scores. For the ACT, the highest scores on the critical reading and math sections from tests taken on different days can be combined. For the ACT, the highest scores on individual subtests from the ACT tests taken on different days can be combined. In order for the scores of these tests to be used for initial eligibility, they need to be provided to the Eligibility Center by the testing agency through an official test score report. And this is usually done by including the NCAA Eligibility Center as one of the recipients of the test scores, which means using their special code 9999 when filling out the test. Let's take a look at the Initial Eligibility Index. This is used to determine what scores students must get on the SAT or ACT depending on their core GPA in order to be eligible. The minimum GPA for a qualifier is going to be 2.3 for the next academic year, which means the lowest possible SAT score is a 900 and the lowest possible ACT score is a 75. Students with higher GPAs don't need as high of scores on those tests as people with lower GPAs do, and this is what the NCAA calls a sliding scale. Academic red shirts are going to have a slightly different set of requirements. These include completing 16 core courses in the areas listed on the slides here. They must have a minimum GPA of a 2.0, not a 2.3, in these 16 core courses, a minimum SAT score of 1020 or an ACT score of 86. Unlike a qualifier academic red shirts who don't meet the required 10 core courses prior to the start of their senior year, will be allowed to retake core courses in the final semesters, which can then be used in academic certification in order to meet the red shirt requirements. If a student meets the qualifications to become an academic redshirt, they are able to receive athletics aid and participate in practices during their first year, but they cannot compete. So what happens if an athlete doesn't meet either of the requirements? This is when they become a non-qualifier, which means they are not able to receive any athletics aid during their first year at a Division I college or university. They can't practice or compete. I want to touch briefly on amateurism, which is another factor in determining initial eligibility. The principle of amateurism, as listed in the NCAA Division I bylaws, is that student athletes should be amateurs in any intercollegiate sport, and that their participation should be motivated primarily by education and the physical, mental, and social benefits that can be derived from participation. Student athletes participating in intercollegiate athletics should be protected from exploitation by professional and commercial enterprises. Therefore, only amateur student athletes are eligible for participation in intercollegiate athletics. There is an entire bylaw dedicated to the intricacies of amateurism, so if you think that any of your students may have lost their amateur status, I suggest that you consult Bylaw 12. But for the purposes of initial eligibility, we just need to know that student athletes must be amateur in order to become eligible to participate in intercollegiate athletics. So the NCAA Eligibility Center, which was formerly called the NCAA Clearinghouse, is the organization that determines the initial eligibility of student athletes. There's an online registration that student athletes and their parents must complete in order for the eligibility to be considered. Student athletes must have a valid email address. They need to provide basic personal information, basic education history, any additional coursework outside of their normal high school courses. They need to provide their sports participation history for amateur certification purposes. There's a payment required of $65, and they also need to provide their official final transcripts from high school and their official test score reports. So that's it for tonight's presentation. I hope that this was very useful and that you can apply this to any student athletes that you may be helping at your high school. If you'd like some more clarification about any of the topics mentioned today or bylaws, you can consult the Eligibility Center at www.eligibilitycenter.org or review NCAA Division I Bylaw 14.3. Thank you.